chapter 25, verse 19, and this parashat is parashat Toldot. Right? And it said, these are the descendants of Yitzchak, son of Abraham. Abraham fathered Yitzchak. Yitzchak was 40 years old when he took himself a wife from Rivka. He took a wife, Rivka, daughter of Bethuel, the Aramean, from Padan Aram, sister of Laban, the Aramean. So we spoke about this before. Traditionally, our men usually get married at the age of 40. That is their natural age of emotional maturity. So this is something that our forefathers understood through a process, because they went through the process of living life. And when you live life, you're supposed to learn from mistakes and learn how human patterns begin. Once you start to establish the basis of human patterns, you can learn how to predict certain behaviors and get rid of certain behaviors and figure out how things work in life. So the natural age of marriage in the scriptures was 40 for a male. And you also see this in our portion before this with Esau. You're going to see it later in the next portion with Esau. All right. And it says from Padam Aram. And Padam Aram right there is usually Aram, but now they added Padam. Padam means, come from the Hebrew word Padam, which means to pour out. There was a lot of flooding in the area. Dams were being broke, but there was an Aryan nation that was bringing the influx into the that area of ancient Sumeria, the Elamite area, pouring into there, and people were leaving out there, and they were migrating west. All right. Verse 21 just says, "Where HaTorah gets cut le Yahoah le nuchat ish cho ki akwara hi." Where Ya'ater the Lord, Yehovah, Tahar, the Rivka, or Ishto. All right, so in the Hebrew it says, we use that word atar, right? The word atar. What does that word mean, Anali, atar?
Crime.
Not in that area. Anybody? What does it mean? All right, it means abundance. The word means abundance. Huh? So Nokak, meaning he went before. So he was constantly praying. But in this statement, when it talks about Nokak, it talks about the positioning of the man. So at this time, he's entreating the Lord for his wife, and this is the job of a man. A man is obligated to say the prayers for the household, and he's supposed to see the problems inside the household and pray towards improvement and try to get solutions, because sometimes there's things outside of your hands. As man, you have to go to God. So a man is the natural, one of the major roles of a father of the household was to be the priest of the household. Now, so you and your goal is to bring the spiritual balance inside the household. That's your duty as a man. Yeah. So that's your duty as a man, to bring spiritual balance in the household. So when you see that there's a problem with your wife or there's a problem in your house, who do you go to?
Man.
Okay, let's pay attention, people. Who do you go to? You go to the Most High. Yeah, you go to the Most High. You entreat God for these situations. So as a man, you know going into a situation that you are to pray for your family. So this is a standard, and it's setting a custom inside of our way of life so we can start to understand. And it says that he abundantly went before his wife because he knew his wife was what? The word akwara. We translate it to be barren, but what does it mean? Really mean? We went over this. It means to pluck out, to root out, or to exterminate. So it wasn't that she was barren. What was actually going on? She was having miscarriages. Because it was being exterminated. The baby was being exterminated. So you start to see that in the language, because in English there's no actual words to really match some of the English interpretations, because like we spoke before, you have your denotative and your connotative meanings. So most English is based off of, English interpretations are based on associated meanings instead of the literal meanings. But the word aquata means to pluck out or to exterminate, to get rid of. So something was happening, and we talked about the blood before, the RH positive, negative, and you can see almost this is being consistent because her brother's name is Laban, and usually this RH negative is prevalent inside of the Laban or white people. All right? So you start to see this mixture, and this is where you start to see in all these movies and stuff like that. Is always this hybrid that's coming to save mankind, or half werewolf and half vampire that's going to be the chosen one or the seed. So now you start to see that this race is being involved, but there's a lot of barren aspects because even our mother Sarah was barren, right? Yes. And even and Rivka was barren, but we had another mother that was barren. What was her name? Rachel. She didn't have she couldn't have seed either. All right. So we go on and we speak and it said Rivka conceived. What word did he use for conceive? Anybody did in the Hebrew? It says Ve Tahar Rivka Ish Tov. What does that mean? We translated the associated meaning to be pregnant, but the root word is hara and she was, but what is the root word? What is the noun here? Har. What is har?
Mountain.
Mountain hill. So what are they saying? She had a mountain on her. She had a mountain. She had a hill. She had a stomach. So this is how we say pregnant. We use things that you can actually visualize and we try to explain it to you, but then in English we go into this abstract thought instead of concrete thought of expression. So the son struggled within her, right? And what word does he use for struggle? This is a good one, and I'm not gonna keep on doing this the whole time, but I want us to get some Hebrew words when we leave out. It uses ratzatz, and it means to like press or crush. It's a pressing or crushing, so it's not like the two sons are struggling her. But most of the time, and I asked my Isha also, but then I had to look it up and do research to make sure that everybody else can see the same thing. But when you have these children or twins in your womb, you have a ratzatz. There's a pressing against the abdomen. And there's this quarreling feeling when you're pregnant. So when you're looking at the word, you start to see that she is kind of confused because it's not a natural birth. Her mothers are telling her, and they're talking about it. You know, women back in the days, they talk. I don't know if you ever seen a show called The Red Tent. Mm-hmm. You seen it?
The Red Tent?
It's a story of Dina.
Red Table.
No. It's a story. It's a story of Dina. But in this story, when the women are unclean, they go into the red tent. When they talk about everything. They talk about how to satisfy your man. They talk about how to make baby, how pregnancy feels, what you should be doing right. So in this red tent, they had secret discussions, right? So in it, she knows that this is not a normal feeling. Though she's never been pregnant before, she's wondering, why am I pregnant and why am I feeling this way? Why inside of my stomach there's a ratzatz inside of there? There's a quarrel, there's a pressing up against my abdomen. There's something that's uncomfortable if this is supposed to be something that's natural. Well, this what normally happens when you have what we call tomim or to'am. A to'am is what? What's to'am? A twin. Tomim is twins, right? So she said, if so, why is this? And she went to inquire of the Lord, right? So let's go in the stomach. And she said, Lamar, for what is this? All right, and use the word lead rosh, right? Yehovah. So now the rosh means to seek out. So she's seeking out the Creator. So she's going in something that's beyond herself. And a lot of times when we feel ourselves in trouble or we're scared or we're worried, we start to seek the Creator because we don't want things to happen, especially during pregnancy. But the funny thing I want you to look at is, look at Isaac going to the Lord for her a couple of sentences ago. But now she can inquire the Lord. And why is this? Because naturally when women give birth, their intuition is heightened because it has to protect the baby. So all of their senses are working to the extreme or at its max. And so now she has high intuition so she can entreat the Lord because she's closer to God. So now the Almighty responds to her, and the Most High says, the Lord says that two people are in your womb, two nations shall branch out from your insides. One nation will overcome the other, and the elder will serve the younger. Right? And we start to see this because this is a pattern inside of the scriptures. Abel was killed, but Seth became the chosen lineage, right? And Cain kind of falls short. Then you have Ishmael, but then Isaac is the chosen one. And then you have, you got Yaakov coming, and he's going to surpass Esau. And this is kind of an underlining theme inside of the Hebraic concept because it's to put you on notice that just because you're the oldest child, there's certain blessings that come, but you should strive just as hard because you never know where your blessings are going to come from. So now God can put you in a position to bless you and uplift you to a position that's stronger than anybody else. But just because someone is older than you doesn't mean that you don't have the ability to overcome and create your own path in this life. And that's one of the things, because a lot of times in the concepts of homes, the older child overshadows the younger child sometimes, and sometimes rough them up. They don't get the ability to grow the way they want to, or certain things happen. But the scriptures is setting a standard now, and you're about to see something great happen. All right, her days to give birth were completed, and twins were found to be in her womb. What is twins again? Plural? Tomim. All right. All right, in her womb. The first one came out red, completely like a hairy coat, and they named him Esau. Now, right here, I want to get rid of a kind of a misconception that we have as individuals. We think that he came out red and hairy. But really, it's saying he was red he had a red, hairy coat. So he was a red, hairy individual. And we can start to see this because now you're seeing the intermingling between two genes. You got, even though they're cousins or they're related, there's something in that area that started producing certain things. And if you look at history and science, European bloodline actually starts to come out of the, not the Caucasus Mountains, but in the area of Mesopotamia in certain times. So we're looking at this mixture, and we're looking at Esau becoming out. He's not white. No, he's not. But he has red hair. Anybody seen a black person with red hair?
Yep.
Huh? You seen him, right? You never?
No.
You gotta look at it. You gotta look deep into it. Huh? All right. All right. And afterwards, his brother came out, his hand holding the heel of Esau. So he named him Yaakov. Yitzchak was 60 years old when they were born. So now you're looking at the level of maturity, because now he has the ability to really govern these children and give them some solid foundation. So he had his children at what?
60.
60 years old. Now in this society, that's crazy, right?
Yeah.
60 years old. What he still doing? What do you want? What do you want? He trying to get. He had him. He was 40 years old. He had him a young woman, and then he didn't have children until he was 60 years old. Oh, this is the children that are documented. All right. The youth grew up. Esau became a man who knew how to hunt, a man of the field. Yaakov was a sincere man living in tents. I want to go into the Hebrew and see what it says. Where Yiglu, right, and we use that word gadal. Gadal doesn't necessarily mean grow in physical stature, but it also means to grow in honor. So there's two things growing. So now they grew into identities. They actually grew into our identity. So the word Yigdal or Yiglu, it's just talking about the Gadal, which is the growth. And it could be physical, but it also means to grow in honor when you look it up in the ancient Hebrew lexicon. So us seeing that, we're seeing that they're starting to mature into characters. Now they're starting to develop into who they are. So at the age of 60, at the age of 60, Isaac had children, and these men grew up into develop into something that Esau was known as what? A hunter, right? Mm-hmm. He was known as a hunter. And then what was Yaakov known as?
A field.
Mm-hmm.
Work in the field.
Mm-hmm.
No, he just worked in the house.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he was a man in the house, right? So he uses the word Tom, and it said he settled in tents. So now, here goes the base concept that most of us as men, we develop and we kill off our own lineage, because we're looking at individuals, especially male childs, to always be these tough warriors that just basically destroy other boys. And that's not really the natural concept of life, because there's two different forms of children that we are starting to see inside of the scripture. And the one that actually is going to supplant the other one is one who is more completely hearted, right? One who has completion with himself, or he's fulfilled. He's not completely searching for things outside of himself. So in it, we start to see that there's two forms of children. And I know I was raised in a society where the aggressive male, if the male didn't have no aggression, he was basically not a good child or a good son or whatever. But as we grow, we start to see that this is not the norm, because who God chose to be the elected one was Yaakov, who was a man of the tents. And why is this imperative? Because the man of the tents, unlike the hunter, the man of the tents understands the household. And this is what we talked about. So we talked about that Av. The Av is the structure. Av means the strength of the house. It's like the beams. It's like the tent poles. It's all the things that form the house. It's the rules. It's the regulations that support the system or create the system. So now Yaakov going into the house and being a man of the house understood the struggles of his mother. And most of us understood the struggles of our mother because our fathers were usually out and about, and we knew what our mother was going through. So in it, we may become oversensitive to the struggles of our mother, but at the same time, we have a concept to know how to manage a household because we know what it takes. And I knew this growing up because I was raised basically primarily by my mother. And my mother was the worker. She took on a lot of emasculate principles, but in it I was instilled certain principles of the house or the tent in order to develop and sustain the house. And in order to sustain the house, I knew basic fundamentals of what was needed and how to regulate the household. And now you see that Esau grew up and he was a hunter and a man that was in the field. Why do you think, children, why do you think Esau was in the field so much?
I know.
Huh? All right, go. Anybody?
What did you say?
Why do you think Esau was in the house so much? Okay, let's go back to the verse,
In
right?
the field?
In the field. He was in a house where his mother knew that the younger was going to be the ruler, right?
Right, because Zima was training Jacob.
His mother was putting more emphasis in Jacob. So usually when you put more emphasis in the other child goes outside the house to find happiness in the home. Or outside the home. So he's looking for affirmation outside the home. But the mother put so much emphasis that she made it uncomfortable for the other child to force the other child outside the house.
Right.
And this is one of the things that we start to see this pattern in the scriptures so much where it causes problems between the siblings. That you don't show favoritism, especially at a young age of early childhood development, unless these things are reward processes that individuals are receiving because of their actions. So we look at it and we start to see, because, okay, Esau doesn't know much. He's just doing regular things. He's just being a man-child. So he's a skillful hunter. He's a man of the field. And that's how he goes about doing his regular life. All right, I need somebody. I say, you follow along? Start reading for me.
And Isaac loved Esau because he did eat his venison. But Rebekah loved Jacob, and Jacob saw pottage. And Esau came from the field, and he was faint. Esau said to Jacob,
Right. So you see the two conflicts. It's not a major conflict because sometimes that happens with parents. Some parents cling closer to one child than they do the other child, and that's just, it happens sometimes. Usually girls usually cling to their fathers, and boys usually cling to their mothers. So it's natural. This is how things happen because women, when they're growing up in the house, they become rivals with their mothers because a lot of times the younger child or the girl is receiving the attention from the father that the mother wants from the father. So sometimes it sets up a natural scenario of rivalry between the two opposing characters inside of the house, and so it kind of pushes the daughter outside the house to get her own. And you'll see this a lot in families. You see this a lot in families. Most in in counseling, you start to see a lot when you see the mothers rival their daughters, or they're talking like, "Girl, need to get out of my house. She ready to get out." Because they become opposites. It's not that they don't love, but it's just the natural way of things happening. And then the natural way things happen. Parents all traumatize their children in some form or fashion. And we can look at the traumatization as being extreme, but traumatization could be overbearing. It could be something that's completely different. But these things are natural processes that allows us to grow. So we have this a propensity to do certain behaviors that the scriptures is depicting now, and we act it out in our lives. Go ahead.
And Esau said to Yaakov, "Let me swallow, I pray you, some of this red pottage, for I am faint." Therefore his name was called Edom. And Yaakov said, "Sell me your birthright." All
right. So now, where is this information coming from that Jacob is telling Esau to sell him his birthright? His mother. His mother. Because the problem is sometimes with mothers, we convey messages to our children that they cannot process at that age. So when she's telling him these certain things, she's putting him in a situation that's actually detrimental to his life. Because she's treating him like what?
Like he's the oldest.
Like he's the oldest, or he's a friend, or someone she confides in. And in this, we have to be very, very mindful. So now he automatically thinking that the natural order is God already put an ordainment on these things, and you do not have to be conniving or manipulative to make these things happen. So he's telling him, sell me your birthright when your brother's hungry. He come in, Esau coming out of the field. Now he obviously feeding the family. If he kill a deer, who eating? Everybody. It just ain't Esau, is it?
No.
So he's killing the deer, he's coming in, he's bringing the food, and Jacob get to cook it up. And then he might not have had a good day. He might not have found nothing. So this day, he came in, didn't find anything, and he's hungry, and his brother said, sell me your birthright. Is that right? No, it's not. It's not at all. But where does this mentality come from? His mother, but what kind of mindset do we call this? Opportunistic. What else? Manipulative. Entitled. So in it, we're looking at it, we have to be very careful, because now our children could walk through this world feeling entitled for things they're not ready for. So now Jacob is about to go for a ride of his life in order to develop the great character he needs to be this great patriarch that we hold near and dear to us. Go ahead, Asa.
And Esau said, behold, I'm at the point to die. What profit shall be my birthright to do to me? And Yaakov said, swear to me first. And he swore unto him. And he sold his birthright unto Yaakov. All
right. So there's two things. And the first thing that just came to my mind. Esau was impulsive, right? Yeah. Red is the color of impulses, and the whole porridge, the red porridge deals with the impulsive. So when you're impulsive, or you're angry, or things that cause rage, or the red danger zone, we're going to call it the red danger zone. When you're in this red danger zone, you don't think long term. So when you're struggling in the present, it means that you were impulsive in your past. You hear me? When you're struggling in your present, that means you were making impulsive decisions in your past. So he didn't see for the future. But this gives me the concept of women, because women are always thinking and kind of plotting and thinking ahead, right? Even in relationships with men, you like, I'm gonna talk to him when he get home, I'm gonna tell him that. You know, sometimes we just really, we all just like, our minds are here, our minds are there, we're not thinking. The women like, you know, there's always a plan. And so Jacob had the mindset to plan. He planned ahead. And Esau, because he was impulsive and very primitive in his behavior, because all the things that he did and dealt with something that was aggression and certain things of that nature. Go ahead.
And Yaakov gave Esau bread and pottage of lentils. And he did eat and drink, and rose up and went his way. So Esau despised his birthright.
So Esau thought light of it. Maura, you got your book open?
Yeah.
What you word to use for despise? 34.
It's
Why you
bets? Yeah.
Yeah, you bets.
Yes. That is he basically why he bets. He made it worthless, basically.
Yeah. So he devalued it.
Right. He made it worthless.
And this is typical, right? Many of us don't see the importance of familyhood. So birthrights and things of that nature doesn't really make sense to us, because we're in a capitalistic society where everything else is just dealing with the chase of a certain kind of dream. But in it, he was satisfied by the world, so nothing in his family really meant anything to him. Well, he thought, right? See, because most of the time when we break away from our family or we become unattached to our families, because we act like we don't care. But the truth is that feeling of not caring is only something, or a callous that we start to develop to break away from all of us and the people or things that actually means a lot to us. So we act like we don't care. So I don't care. But that's just a reaction so we can cope. It's a coping mechanism. Go ahead.
There was a famine in the land besides the first famine that was in the days of Abraham.
All right, so now here goes the struggles again. Go ahead.
And Yitzchak went into Abimelech, king of the Pishlotim, unto Gerar. And Yah appeared unto him and said, Go not down into Egypt, dwell in the land which I shall tell you. Sojourn in this land, and I will be with you, and will bless you. And unto you, and unto your seed, I will give all these lands, and I will establish the oath which I swore unto Abraham your father. And I will multiply your seed as the stars of the heaven. I will give you seed seed all these lands, and by the seed shall all the nations of the earth bless themselves.
So there's a certain level of sacrifice that you have to give in order to move forward, and we start to see this. But when you look inside the scriptures, you see that Isaac is about to make a similar mistake to what Rebekah's making. Because the word of God was given, but now you feel that it has to be a natural alteration to it in order for it to make it happen. He told you to go down there, and he gave you the promise of what was going to happen. So continue reading.
And because Abraham hearkened to my voice and kept my charge, my commandments, my statutes, and my laws, and Yitzchak dwelt in Gerar. And the man of that place asked him of his wife, and he said,
So now they immediately go into the blessings. Your blessings is based off of your father. So now a lot of us, and most of us are either second or third generation here, and a lot of y'all are third generation or even possibly fourth generation. But you're blessed because the calling of your father. Your father was called into this way of life. He was called to be a Hebrew, and not even just a regular Hebrew, but a Hebrew of high status. So now it's the blessing of your father that's being placed upon you in order for you now to manifest it, and it's incredible for you to set your own legacy. Everyone has to set their legacy in this place. So now we ask you, what would Goshen miss if you were to leave? If it's nothing, then maybe you have to study and think about the irrelevance of your life and make your life relevant now and become a powerful entity. Because some of us just live. But Yah will bless your children because you are devoted to him. So now if you have a certain level of devotion, it doesn't matter what the world thinks or how you contend or want to fit in with everybody else. You'll be blessed through the structure of what Abraham and your forefathers provided for us and the legacy that you create for your own children. Go ahead.
She is my sister. For he feared to say my wife.
All right, so now here goes Isaac repeating something that his father did twice. Did it work for his father?
No.
So why would he think it's okay for him? Because it's the proclivity of human beings to basically do stuff and repeat the same mistakes of the parents even though they know it doesn't work. And I want to stop here for a second because I was just thinking the other day and I was like, well, we want our children to be better than us. But we got to help our children become better than us. We have to be able to fight and overcome the stuff that we're failing at.
Right.
We have to become better. We just do. You can't say, I hope my child is just going to be better than me. Oh, they're so great because I'm an excellent mother or father or teacher. No, sometimes they're fighting to get out of your shadow and our corruption of who we are. But you have to have the gift and you have to say, I'm going to do this for my children. I'm short-tempered, I'm this, I'm mad, I'm angry, I'm frustrated, I don't listen, I'm impatient. All of these things you cannot expect your children to get over unless you started the path of getting over it. So if you want something better for your child, start picking apart things that are tearing you apart or holding you back in life and get over it. Because if not, you're going to have an Isaac situation. Isaac is going to do something that doesn't make sense, it doesn't work. And no matter how much we know it don't make sense, we're still repeating these patterns. If a child see that a parent's abused, they can hate and despise the abuser, but later on they'll turn out and be the abuser. Because children are only taught to respond how they've seen their parents respond. So if somebody's, I bring it into a basketball scenario. If somebody's trying to steal the ball, I'm not going to cross over into the other hand unless I what? Or seen somebody cross it over before. So a lot of times we do not evolve unless somebody gives us a hint to the evolution and see it working. Even Jordan game was patterned after somebody else's. Somebody else's game was patterned after somebody else's. And they took it to different levels. It was the evolution of it. So now with it, you have to show your children how to respond differently in different situations. Because even if they despise the response to the situation, if they don't have a variety of different responses to choose from, they're only going to select the ones that they're familiar with. And this was Isaac. That's all he's saying. Go ahead.
Lest the men of this place shall kill me for Rivkah, because she is fair to look upon. And it came to pass, when he had been there a long time, that Abimelech, king of the Pishlotim, looked out the window and saw, and behold, Yitzchak was sporting with Rivkah his wife. And Abimelech called Yitzchak and said, Behold, of the surety that she is your wife, And how you said, she is my sister. And Yitzchak said unto him, because I said, lest I die because of her. And Abimelech said, what is this that you have done to us? One of the people might easily lay with your wife, and would have brought guiltiness upon us.
And so now, sometimes when we do the things that our parents do, we play on the stupidity of the people that's around us. And we play like they're ignorant because we think that people are not smart enough to figure it out. And they seen him, they used the play on his name. It says, Michatz, you know what I'm saying? It's using his word, it's using his name. He's playing, he's being joyful. Men you don't play with that unless that's your wife. So he's like, something is wrong. This is not, you could have caused anybody to sin. So now, if we don't change our children and our own personal behavior, we can train our children to also cause other people to sin. And that's not who our father was. Our father amassed the nations. He gathered the people. And though he had flaws, as most of us have flaws, there was something different about him. So now Abimelech is basically chastising or castigating our forefather about his behavior and what is he doing, because now Pharaoh said the same thing. But he's warning him, he said, anybody could have easily laid with your wife. Go ahead.
And Abimelech charged all his people, saying, he that touches his man or his wife shall surely be put to death. And Yitzchak sold in that land, and found in the same year 100-fold, and Yah blessed him. And the man waxed great, and he grew more and more, until he became very great. And he had possessions of flocks, and possessions of herds, and a great household. And the Pishlotim invited him. Now all the wells which his father's servant had dug into the days of Abraham his father, the Pishlotim, had stopped them and filled them with earth.
And so here we go into the stage of what we call like arrested development, but he's still growing because he's living in the life of his father. And that's one thing I want to talk about, because we don't read us as being poor people. And our ability to dwell in tents, or us dwelling in tents, was a part of our culture. That didn't mean we was poor. It didn't mean we were poor at all. It means that was our style of living. That's just the way we were as individuals. But Isaac, he came in the midst of people, and he became very rich, and he uncovered the wells of his father. And I use that as a stage of arrested development, because usually Isaac really didn't go through much, and he has the smallest chapters out of all the patriarchs. Go ahead.
Now Abimelech said unto Yitzchak, go from us, for you are much mightier than we. And Yitzchak departed there, and encamped in the valley of Gerar, and dwelt there. And Yitzchak dug again the wells of water, which they had dug in the days of Abraham his father.
All right, so here we go. Another tendency of humans to get kind of quarrelsome with individuals who are growing greater than you. And why would somebody be mad at somebody that's growing greater than them? Anybody?
Animosity.
Animosity.
Jealousy. It brings out feelings of inadequacies.
And insecurities. It highlights these things. Because once you start doing great things, people are looking at, well, my life, why I don't have this, why I don't have this. But why don't you have any of that? Because you didn't do it. You didn't take charge of that direction. You didn't have the discipline to acquire what was really purposeful or meaningful to you, that you thought was purposeful or meaningful to you. So now you become a person that's just basing their life on dependencies, and now when you're dependent upon many other people, you don't have the elevation. So now they start to see Isaac, a man that comes in the middle of us and is rising up. And this is what people want to see here. You know, the average income in Goshen is $18,000 per house a year. That's low.
Yeah.
Huh?
In Sparta.
Not Goshen, sorry, yeah, in Sparta. Now that's low. So what are they going to see when they see houses and people living good inside, in the midst of them? And eventually they're going to assist us and they're going to help us grow. But then when we get too big, they're going to be like, yeah, something wrong. I hate them. Something wrong with them. But we always going to be the righteous individuals, because our mindset is to fully develop and go full circle in everything we're doing and accomplish areas in our lives that we haven't looked at before. Because you have to work on your weaknesses.
It's not only jealousy, it's out, as you grow, you become more powerful.
Yep.
And he could have easily taken over, grew his family, that's why during the time of Yosef, we were stuck in Goshen, because we was gonna get big.
Yeah.
We was gonna take over.
Yeah.
And that's what can happen. You go from here because I can see as you become more powerful, people start respecting you
Mhm.
instead of respecting who they're supposed to be respecting,
And
their
that's the
king.
and that's the king of their government. And that's absolutely true, because if you look at, I think it's Exodus 1:18, it starts to say, the people are becoming stronger and mightier than us unless they gather with our enemies to wage war. So
Right.
they had a natural fear against us because
Right.
we were just so powerful. And that's what people do. They have a fear of us. So they contain us inside of this structural system that doesn't allow us to grow. And that's why it's important for us to get out the system and create a system for development of our personal selves. You know, we're trapped inside of this place, so we gain the identity and do things that the world does that's not good for our growth. Go ahead.
For the Hebrew team have stopped them after the death of Abraham, and he called their names after the names by which his father had called them. And Yitzchak's servants dug in the valley and found their well of living water.
All right, so we hear stories in here. I don't know, but I know me and before we was listening to a guy who's telling us about the catfish farm they had. These black people that owned a big catfish farm, and one day the guy came back and all his catfish was dead.
Crazy.
Yeah, they poisoned him. So it's similar. So like they're trying to give you signs. Hey, they might say, "Hey, nigga, get out of here." It's spray painted on your door, so, you know, because they're just trying to make you feel uncomfortable and not make you grow. But they plugged up all Abraham's waters because well was life, well was power. Without water, you have nothing. So when you dig it out, you're trying to force them out because you know they're coming stronger. But he had the ability to overcome these problems. Go ahead.
And the herdmen of Gerar strove with Yitzchak's herdmen, saying, "The water is ours." And he called the name the well of Esed, and because they have contended with him. And they dug another well, and they strove for that also. And he called the name of it Shitnah. And he removed from there and dug another well. For that they strove not. And he called the name of it Rekovah.
And so because it was spacious, right? But in it, you gotta think of the culture of our people because they name these things and don't think culturally because you can say, oh, well, I don't understand the culture of Hebrews, but just think about the natural aspect of humans, right? Humans have the tendency to relate something with a place, right? You ever been to a place and you remember good things, right? So at the time when he's seen this well, he's like, this is contention. All I had around this well is contention. This one is quarreling. It's Satan, adversity. But this one is spacious. I was able to move out. So you remember things in your life. Your like I said, your hippocampus and your amygdala starts to create these emotional memories, and it's very powerful in your mind where you start to realize things and go back into time. You ever heard a song? I can hear a song and I can know where I was at when it first came out. Everybody, right?
Yeah, what you
like
was
that?
going through.
Yeah, what's exactly what you was going through, what you was doing when you first heard the song. You're like, oh yeah, that was that time I was going through this and that. And sometimes it could be a bad thing, but it ain't a bitter memory. It's just good that you're able to relate because in order for you to connect to your present, you have to be able to connect to the emotional architect that created your past. And we have to realize that that's who we are. We are structured from things and incidences that happened in our past. Go ahead.
For now, and he said, for now, Yah has made room for us, and we shall be fruitful in the land. And he went up from there to Be'er Shabbat. And Yah appeared unto him in that same night and said, I am the Elohim of Abraham your father. Fear not, for I am with you, and will bless you and multiply your seed for my servant Abraham's sake.
All right, so, and I know this is not typical of traditional Hebrew teachings, but Beersheba is 7 wells, but it actually means like the 7 wells or sources of energy that's inside of our body, which some would call the revolving wheels or the chakras, right? And then when he gets there, he starts to connect with God. So there is a perfect balance in what Isaac is starting to become and what he's doing as he's growing. So now God speaks to him and he gives him insight. Go ahead.
And he built an altar there and called upon the name of Yah and pitched a tent there. And Yitzchak's servants dug a well. Then Abimelech went to him from Gerar, and Achuzah, his friend, and Pekol, the captain of his host. And Yitzchak said to him, Wherefore are you come unto me? See, you hated me, and you sent me away from you? And he said, We saw plainly that Yah was with you. And we said, Let there now be an oath between us, ever between us and you, and let us make a covenant with you, that you will do us no hurt, and as you will have not touched us.
All right, so you know, this is a beautiful story, and it's sad because not too many stories end up like this. But the people who did Isaac wrong knew why they did Isaac wrong. And how many times do you see that in your life? People come to you and say, "Hey, I did you wrong because I knew God was with you," or you made me feel inadequate, or you made me feel insecure about certain things, or you were just greater than me. So now, if this is the tradition or the culture of the people that were in the midst of him, and they were foreigners, how much so will we have to be with our brothers? Of admitting what's wrong with us, or saying why we did a person wrong. Anybody in here did somebody wrong?
Yeah, of course.
Yep.
Huh? Somebody said I'm dirty. Huh?
Right.
Yeah.
Let me know.
But have we ever come back and corrected that? Sometimes, very, very rarely. So you see a custom of a people that is not even. So if they weren't worthy of the blessing of God, how much so the children of God now? So if they were going and they came to him and they said, "Hey, we know." See, because sometimes we remove God from our midst. We think when we do a brother wrong that God is not in this.
Right.
We think that we can justify in our hearts and our minds and our souls, "Oh, I did this because of this." And you know that really deep in your subconscious that you're being plagued as an individual because you had some inadequate feelings in you that made you hurt somebody. So if the people that are not of Yah can admit this, how much so does the people of Yah need to admit when they're being done wrong? It's an honor to apologize. Because apologizing is the highest form of repentance. You being able to understand why you did wrong, and you go to the person that you did wrong to, God loves that. Who did that? Which one of our fathers did that the most? Huh? King David. King David made tons of mistakes. God loved his sincerity of his heart. He loved that, hey, you can apologize. You know you did wrong. You're not worried about what everybody else is doing. You're worried about what's going on in your life. And that's very powerful. Nobody else can save you. Only you can save yourself through the help of Yah, and that's understanding that Yah is in every being in here. And if you don't treat a person like Yah is in them, then you're not going to have respect. And King David says this. He says, "And to thee alone have I sinned." And why is he saying that? Because he had disregard for the people that he hurt? No, because he's saying God is in everybody. And when I wrong you, I wronged the Almighty. Amen. We got to listen to that. These are our brothers. This is us. We're all one individual. We're a different personality of the same being. Some people, "Oh, this person's different. This person," yeah, we're supposed to be different. I don't understand that person. We'll learn to understand them. Go out your way to understand them. Yeah. How I tried to talk to them once, it didn't go through well. Well, create another avenue. Figure out what they like. How do they communicate? We got to fight for one another's love. Not give up. Right.
And as we have done unto you nothing but good, and have sent you away in peace, you are now the blessed of Yah. He made them a feast, and they did eat and drink. And they rose up betimes in the morning, and swore one unto another. And Yitzchak sent them away, and they were part of his peace. And it came to pass the same day that Yitzchak's servant came and told him concerning the well which they had dug, and said to him, "We have found water." And he called it Shivah. Therefore, the name of the city is the Be'er Sheva unto this day. And Esau was 40 years old, and he took a wife, Yehudit, the daughter of Be'eri the Hittite, and Basmat, the daughter of Elon the Hittite.
And we always say we the children, we are children of the covenant. And what I like to see here is Isaac made a covenant with people. You know, traditionally he made a covenant with people. Contractual agreements. Contractual agreements are everything. You say, "Oh, I trusted you, I trusted you, I trusted you, I trusted you." How many times are you going to say that without getting the person to get a contract?
Right.
That's right.
Even marriage.
Yeah, everything has to be contracted. Even if it's $10 and you need it back. For real. It has to be documented. You ever been in an argument and the person said, "I didn't know that. I never did that."
Yeah, they really forgot.
Yeah. You owe me $10,000. $10,000? Why did I do that? Or how you forget $10,000? But people conveniently forget. I had a person stay with me a year and a half, never gave me anything. And when I argued with him 2 years after he left, he said he paid me every month.
Oh, it's crazy.
So you got to contract everything. Our forefathers were smart. It says make contracts with the foreigners and brothers, but things that are beneficial to you, that, hey, they're not taking your wealth, they're leaving you alone, they're not bothering you. I gave you money for this, you give me this, we're going to make a covenant, we can even celebrate the covenant. We're going to celebrate contracts. Our people celebrated the contracts. Sound right here, brother. Yeah, I got you. Here you go. Right, let's have a drink. Go back and toast. Cheers. Cheers to this contract. See, because what's going to happen is you're going to go through life trusting people, and people are going to burn you, and then you're going to be like, oh, I can't trust nobody. But the precautionary measures were already laid out for you by our forefathers. Mm-hmm. See, people fall on hard times because of decisions. And so when you help them out, you can't automatically think that they're just going to come out of it because they're still making the what? Same bad decisions. So then you come up with ideas and concepts to help them perpetuate and elevate to a different level, but you got to grow them too. And this is not just with finances, this is with life. How many times have you gave people instructions or told them how to help themselves, and they always ask you, but never take your instructions? Over and over again. Yep. And they say, okay, you just want to hear me talk. Because sometimes people don't want guidance, they want gossip. And sometimes they just want to vent. So when you give them solutions, they don't want the solutions because they're comfortable in the situation they're in. And this is why we got to get out of this. Go ahead.
And there was bitterness in the spirit of Yitzchak into Rivka. And it came to pass that when Yitzchak was old and his eyes were dim, so that he could not see, he called Esau his eldest son and said unto him, my son. And he said unto him, here I am. All right,
so before we go on, Esau took him some wives, right? Did he take her the wives that he was supposed to?
No.
So culturally, we're about to assess that, hey, you want, and see, bitterness, when you make your parents bitter, what are you really saying? What is literally going on with your parents? You're killing them. You're killing them. And you got to think of it like that. I had a chance where I actually sat down with my father, we eating, breaking bread, and I started to see him aging. I used to look the same for years. But I see him, but why? Because he's stressing. Just a lot. And sometimes the biggest problems with individuals, not the outside problems, because most of us can cope with outside problems. The problems is the inside problems that create and highlight the outside problems. So if the inside is good, most of the stuff on the outside won't affect you at all. See, people, let's look at people voting and everything. And I'm not saying pro, I'm not saying con. I really can care less. Whatever moved your heart, do it. But if there was so much good going in your house or things going on around you, a lot of times you wouldn't have to look outside for any change. But when the inside is messed up, you're looking for the outside to give you solutions. So most of us, when we have problems with our family, we cast out our family, we go run off into other families and try to be a part of that family because we're still looking for the family structure that we ran away from. Mm-hmm. So because we can't find the problem solving outside of our family, we become very bitter. And this is what Esau made his mother very bitter because he chose the wrong woman. Are you going to be that son that chose the wrong woman or the daughter that chose the wrong man? How many of you in here love your parents? I look at you. Oh, put your hands up. All right, that was bad. All of us, right? So that means your decisions or relationships is going to be based off of your parents, right? Your parents ain't blind. They know what to look for. You think your mother don't know what you need? She knows her son. My son needs a woman like this, a woman like that. I remember when my Ema first met Rosie. She said, girl, why you choose that boy? I said, dang, you need this. She's like, oh, girl, come in the kitchen. I'm like, what? I'm good. I'm good. But the parents know what you need. They know what you need. It's not like, oh, mom, you're not cool. You don't know what's new. You don't know what's hip. It's not about that. Parents know what you need to comfort yourself. They've been raising you their whole lives. So everyone here has admitted that they're going to do their best to try not to make their parents bitter because of their selection of who they're with, right? All right, right? Yeah.
Okay.
Don't come back with no Sparta girl and try to bring up, put some fringes on her after she's pregnant. Oh, and she's like, Shalom. No, Shalom. Yeah, don't try to deck her up. All right, go ahead.
You said, Behold now, I am old. I know not the day of my death. Therefore take, I pray you, your weapons, your quiver, and your bow, and go out to the field, and take me venison. And make me savory food, such as I love. Bring it to me, that I may eat, and may my soul bless you before I die.
So he's setting up. He's setting up that's here go another custom. See, we don't wait for our fathers. Our fathers knew when they were passing, and like many of them say, they were okay. They were okay. They said they were okay with their passing. And I was watching this. I was watching this. This thing. There was a guy who was teaching about death. He said if you really understood death, you would be happy when loved ones pass on. And he was going on. He was saying because they're at a beautiful place. And most people in old age, when they go, they gave up. They was ready to go. It was their time. So Yitzchak is knowing it's his time. He's building it up. He said, okay, when I'm going out, you know, what you want? You know how to say, what you want in your tombstone? He wanted a special meal, so he prepared, hey, make me some of that venison, give me some of that good, healthy, delicious stuff, and I'm going to give you a blessing, my son. So now Esau, even though he's not fully functioning and thinking everything right, but he forgot something. What did he forget? He sold his birthright. But he's happy out there going to get his father some venison because he's more mature now and he knows what that birthright means. It means something now. It means a lot. So he out there running, chasing them deers. Go ahead.
Rivkah heard that Yitzchak spoke to Esau his son. Esau went to the field to hunt for venison and to bring it back. And Rivkah spoke to Yaakov, her son, saying, Behold, I've heard your father speak to Esau, your brother, saying, Bring me venison and make me savory food, that I may eat and bless you before Yah, before my death. Now therefore, my son, hearken to my voice, according to that which I commanded you. Now go to the flock, fetch me from there 2 kid goats, and I will make them savory food for your father, such as he loves. You shall bring it to your father, that he may eat, so that he may bless you before his death. And Yaakov said to Rivkah, his mother, Behold, Esau, my brother, is a hairy man, and I am such a smooth man. My father, peradventure, will feel me, and I will seem to him as a mocker. And I shall bring him a curse upon him, and not a blessing. And his mother said unto him, Upon me be a curse, my son. Only hearken to my voice, and go fetch them. And he went and fetched them.
All right, so now here goes some good information. So she's telling him, hey, I heard Esau talking. We about to go bring your Abba some food for the blessing. So now here she goes, and now she's about to practice a deception. So in her, training her son to deceive her father. And this is sometimes what we do, and parents is we allow children to deceive their parents by covering up for some of their sins and their shames, and we have to be very careful because it'll cost your child in the long run. And if you don't let parents be the natural correctors or let things happen, let Isaac understand certain things, there's certain blessings that would have came out of here. But her trying to do that which she thinks God's want her to do, but there's no deception in being righteous. So now there's a repercussion that's going to happen because of this embedded favoritism and misunderstanding of what Yah's design was. So maybe it would have been better to just tell Isaac what was going on and how God bless you and let us pray together and work together and come with an understanding and ask God to reveal what was being revealed into the woman. Is this far-fetched? No, because when Manoah did the same thing, correct? He said, Samson's mother, he said, I want to tell him to come to me. I want to come to him and talk to them. And he went and he came. So that shows that sometimes we have to pray together to be on the same path, or we're going to be in a divided house claiming to be under one Yah. And that's not our culture. So now she says, well, if I trick him, the curse is upon me. And that's another lesson because it's true. He followed the blessing, or he followed the order of his mother. So when your parents tell you to do something, especially when you're in their tents, you do it.
Yeah.
You can't determine, oh, I don't know if that's lawful or whatever. No, I'm not doing that anymore. That's not how it happened. If they ask you to do something that possibly against the ways and you really don't like it or you don't understand it, that curse is on who? Them. Them. You can't tell, go to the store and get me some devil dogs. No, I'm not getting you no devil dogs, amen. You don't need no devil dogs. She wants some devil dogs. Go get her devil dogs. Don't be disrespectful because you're never in a place to judge your parents. And even when your parents do wrong, you ain't the one that's called to stone them. So that just speaks on a level of critique. And then when we look at the story of Noah, the blessing came unto the children who would move backwards and covered their father's nakedness, meaning they didn't bring light into things that were wrong inside of their own family. And they didn't blast their parents or put them on blast. I'll be you this, blah, 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 blah. Let the curse be upon them. Go ahead.
And he went and fetched and brought them to his mother. And his mother made savory food, such as his father loved. And Rivkah took the choice garments of Esau, her elder son, which were with her in the house.
All right, so we go back to this. I spoke about this last week, and there was a mother. A mother's job was never done. Means what? Glue. It's really what it means. The mother held down the house. So even though Esau is married, the mother is still taking care of this boy in a way. She's still making garments. She still has his clothes and his tents. But she's probably fixing it. Maybe he had a snare somewhere and she's mending it. Mothers always play the part. And you see this in Hispanic families. In the Hispanic families, the grandmother is always prevalent in the house. She's always present. And she has a traditional role. And usually in Native Americans, this role was, even when in Native Americans, when the woman was unclean or on her nida, they would go into a lounge. They would have a separate area where they would go, and then the grandmother would assume the role of the wife. Or if there were servants or maidservants or younger daughters, they would assume the position. So the mother was always present, and that's important because a mother knows how she wants her son treated. And that also brings government to the family. The mother has to say so. She knows her son. And she may be fiery sometimes. She may rub you the wrong way. But she raised that boy, so she knows the intricacies of him. So this is traditional family. No, you got to grow up and stop being a mama's boy. You need to go past your mama. That's not our tradition. We don't train our people to buck their parents. We tell them to always be there, and the mother's present. She loves her son. She wants to see the best for her sons and her daughters. And that's the same thing with the fathers. Go ahead.
And she put the skins of the kids of the goats upon his head.
So she just created a costume. She did a lot. She created a costume. Esau must have been gone. She made a costume. She made some food. Like, she was serious about this trickery. Go ahead.
And upon the
like, no, if it was up to a man, he would have quit halfway through, though. He would have just like, you know what I mean? If it was up to a man, he would have said, no, this ain't going to work. After he started sewing one arm, he was like, nah, this ain't going to, this is too much. This is too much. But she was all the way through. She got the pot going on. She's sewing. She got the food. Make sure it tastes. Because she got to make this taste like this. She got to make this goat taste like venison. They got to taste like some good deer. So she making some. She going back. She fixing the garment. She getting them ready. Oh, she's ready. Go ahead.
And upon the smooth of his neck, and she gave the savory food and the bread, which she had prepared into the hand of her son Yaakov. And he came unto his father and said, My father. And he said, Here am I. Who are you, my son? And Yaakov said unto his father, I am Esau, your firstborn. I have done accordingly as you bade me. Arise, I pray you, sit and eat my venison, that your soul may bless me. And Yitzchak said unto his son, How is it that you have found it so quickly, my son? He said, Because Yah, your Elohim, sent me good speed.
He's lying in the name of God. You know, sometimes we get so caught up into our stuff. And this is the impulsive nature of Isaac, impulsive nature of Isaac, because he kind of doubted that was Esau. But that food, you know, sometimes you put things present before people and it makes them rush into decisions. They just want the food. And plus he's losing his senses. So he's questioning it, he's doubting it, but he goes on, right?
And Yitzchak said unto Yaakov, come near, I pray you, that I may feel you, my son, whether you be bury my son Esau or not. And Yaakov went unto Yitzchak his father and felt him and said, the voice is the voice of Yaakov, but the hands are the hands of Esau. And he discerned him not, because his hands were very hairy, as his brother Esau's hands. So he blessed him. He said, are you my very son Esau? And he said, I am. He said, bring it near me, and I will eat my son's venison, that my soul may bless you, and be brought near unto him. And he did eat. He brought him wine, and he drank. And his father Yitzchak said unto him, come near, and kiss me, my son. And he came near and kissed him. And he smelt the smell of his raiment, and blessed him, and said, see, the smell of my son is the smell of the field, which Yah has blessed. So Elohim give you the dew of the heaven, and the fat places of the earth, and plenty of grain and wine. Let people serve you, and the nations bow down to you, and be masters over your brothers. Let your mother's sons bow down to you. Cursed be everyone that cursed you, and blessed be everyone that blessed you. And it came to pass, soon as Yitzchak had made the end of his blessing Yaakov, and Yaakov was yet scarce gone out of his presence. Yitzchak his father, that Esau his brother came from his hunting.
All right, so we know how this story ends, and one of the things I like is the blessing, man, that is placed upon us, and we still see that blessing today. We see how strong it is, because we know that every nation that's dominant and superior has an enclave of Israelites in it. These areas or places that we saturate the land, and we bless them. So these nations are using us. And just like when the people who came to Isaac and they said, you were blessed by God, and then later on Laban says the same thing, that I called on the Elohim, and I knew that you were blessed through him, so I wanted to keep you. And this is why people try so hard to dumb you down, because they don't want you to leave. They want you to forever be in their presence, because they know that their blessings are coming through you. But you have to realize that you can bless yourself, and you're not dependent on them to get the blessings. You're dependent on the Creator, and they're dependent on you for the blessings. So when we looking for other people outside of ourselves, such as going to certain communities and trying to be a part of them, we're not looking for the power inside of ourselves. We're actually looking for our blessing inside of them, which is reverse of what the scriptures is actually telling us, because we are the people that put the blessings on every single body. I know every person in here that is very talented in many different areas that is mind-blowing. But sometimes that pursuit of our dreams and the things that we love, we don't do it because we want affirmation from the outside sources of those who regulate what we do. And we don't need that. You are blessed because God blessed you, and you will forever be the dominant seeds on this earth as long as you understand how powerful your blessing is. So you were the children of Israel, and never forget that. And never look for an outside source to make you happy. Never look for an outside source to give you validation. Always find validation in yourself as a Hebrew Israelite, and always be strong. Hallelujah.
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 Amen.
Amen.
So we're going to rise and face the east of Jerusalem.